Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events. I'm your host, Walter. Today, we're going to tackle a complex and intriguing story that's been making headlines around the world. We're talking about the recent developments in Venezuela, where the United States has taken control of the country's oil reserves. This move has sparked a lot of debate and discussion, with some people praising it as a bold step towards promoting democracy and others criticizing it as a brazen power grab. To break it down, let's look at the facts. The U.S. government has announced that it will be taking control of Venezuela's oil reserves, which are estimated to be worth billions of dollars. This move is part of a larger effort to support the country's opposition leader, who has been recognized by the U.S. as the legitimate president of Venezuela. However, not everyone is on board with this plan. Some critics argue that it's an overreach of U.S. power and that it could lead to further instability in the region. Others have pointed out that the U.S. has a history of intervening in foreign countries, often with disastrous consequences. It's also worth noting that this move has been met with resistance from other countries, including China and Russia, which have significant economic interests in Venezuela. This could potentially escalate into a larger geopolitical conflict with far-reaching implications for global stability. As we try to make sense of this complex situation, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and evaluate the evidence carefully. We'll be exploring this topic in more depth throughout the show, talking to experts and analyzing the potential consequences of this move. We'll also be looking at other top stories from around the world, including the latest developments in the Middle East and the ongoing debate over climate change. Our goal is to provide you with a balanced and informative look at the news, without taking sides or promoting any particular agenda. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into a complex and sensitive topic that's been making headlines around the world. The recent U.S. attack on Venezuela has sparked widespread outrage and concern among Latin American nations. To break it down for you, let's take a closer look at what happened. The U.S. launched a nighttime assault on Caracas, resulting in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. While some might view this as a victory for democracy, others see it as a blatant example of U.S. imperialism and a threat to regional stability. The international community is divided, with some leaders condemning the attack as an unwarranted interference in Venezuela's internal affairs. On the other hand, there are those who argue that Maduro's regime has been responsible for widespread human rights abuses and economic mismanagement, and that the U.S. intervention was necessary to bring about change. However, critics point out that the U.S. has a history of intervening in Latin American countries, often with disastrous consequences. We've seen protests erupting across Colombia, with demonstrators denouncing the U.S. attack and expressing fears that their own country could be next on the list. The U.S. Embassy has warned its citizens to avoid these protests, citing the potential for violence. Meanwhile, experts warn that Trump's aggressive foreign policy could have far-reaching and unpredictable consequences for the region. It's essential to consider multiple perspectives on this issue, acknowledging both the complexities of Venezuela's internal situation and the implications of U.S. intervention. As we navigate this intricate web of international relations, it's crucial to prioritize a nuanced understanding of the facts and avoid simplistic or biased narratives. As the situation continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the future of Latin America hangs in the balance. The region is holding its breath, waiting to see what the U.S. will do next. Will we see further interventions, or will there be a shift towards diplomacy and cooperation? Only time will tell. Welcome back to Concrete Block. As we wrap up today's show, we're going to tackle a story that's been making waves in the international community. The United States has been eyeing Greenland, a semi-autonomous Danish territory, and President Donald Trump has even suggested buying it or taking it over through military action. This move has sparked widespread criticism and concern from European leaders, with many questioning the U.S.'s right to take over the island. To understand the situation better, let's break it down. Greenland is strategically located between North America and the Arctic, making it a crucial spot for early warning systems in case of missile attacks. The US already operates a space base on the island, which has been in use since World War II. However, Denmark and Greenland have made it clear that the island is not for sale. The Danish government has warned that any attempt to take over Greenland would spell the end of the NATO alliance. European leaders, including those from France, Germany, and the UK, have rallied behind Denmark, stating that Greenland belongs to its people and only Denmark and Greenland can decide on matters concerning their relations. It's essential to consider the perspectives of the people living in Greenland. Many are concerned about the potential consequences of US ownership, with some feeling that it would be a case of switching from one master to another. The island's indigenous population is already facing significant challenges due to climate change, which is melting the sea ice and affecting their traditional way of life. As we analyze this situation, it's crucial to remain fair and balanced. While the US may have strategic interests in Greenland, it's equally important to respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of other nations. The international community must prioritize diplomacy and cooperation to address any concerns or issues related to Arctic security. In conclusion, the story of Greenland is a complex one, with multiple stakeholders and competing interests at play. As we move forward, it's essential to prioritize dialogue, respect, and cooperation to ensure that the rights and interests of all parties involved are protected. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.